I can't keep with all the Skarsgård. And then there's one in the MCU too. One in the MCU is pretty good. He plays the he's like the older one. He was in Thor. He plays
That's their father.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Is that Stellan? That's Stellan Skarsgård?
Yeah, Stellan Skarsgård, yeah. Like a Nazi name.
I mean, he's on. This one's about Vikings.
I will avenge you, father. I will save you, mother. I will kill you for
Fiona, whatever his name is. Yeah.
Something Nazi.
Some Nazi sounding name.
Father! Remember, for whom you shed your last teardrop.
Hold! Before we go forward with this, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right there. Boom, boom.
Bing, bang.
The Northman stars Alexander Skarsgård. One of the Skarsgårds that I said was a pretty boy.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, when this movie opened up, I was like, yo, I'm gonna rip this guy because he has firmly established he don't like no Skarsgård except for the one that plays it.
But that's not the reason why I like him. I like him because of the Devil Inside.
Well, they are gonna go and have a look. The goal does not stand.
I actually enjoyed this Skarsgård performance, man.
Okay.
Because
thought it was very unnotable. Go ahead.
The reason why I like his performance is because how much work he put into his transformation. Okay.
Is this transformation? Okay.
Oh, his whole body, man.
He always looks like that. He looked like that when he was Tarzan. He looks like that.
Well, they are going to go and have a look. The goal does not stand.
This man is always ripped. I feel like he wears like a lowrider pants. I'm like, yo, put your pants up, dog. And so he's like this in every movie. So I'm like, is this a transformation? Whatever.
I guess, in my mostly wrong opinion, I believe he had a transformation. But that does not defeat him being the weakest Skarsgård, because he is to me. Okay?
He's certainly the prettiest Skarsgård.
He's the prettiest one. Now, as for the movie, directed by Robert Eggers again?
Eggers, I think it's
Eggers. Robert Eggers.
Robert Eggers.
Robert Eggers. I enjoyed it, and it's different.
Robert Eggers is the same guy who did The Lighthouse and same guy who did The Witch, two movies that I absolutely love. Those are two of my top favorite films, so I was really excited to see The Northman.
I'd never seen The Witch. I'm gonna be seeing that pretty soon. Anya Taylor-Joy is in that film also.
Yep, and there's a cameo from Anya Taylor, the guy who plays Anya Taylor-Joy's father. He was like the boatman with a really like cool voice, like crazy cool. I can't do his voice, but yeah, he was also in The Witch as well.
Robert and his cinematographer did different things in this film compared to the other. Its lighting is a little bit different when it comes to him lighting, color. Because I've only seen The Lighthouse, where it's just.
Oh right, you've only seen The Lighthouse. Yeah. So the Witch is in color. He does like this natural lighting thing. So he doesn't like to have like, or at least as much natural lighting as he can. He prefers natural lighting, so there'd be like a fireplace or the sun or something like that. And he really goes super ham on that. But this was a movie where he finally he gave up a little bit of ground on that, where he talks about how do you film a Viking ship at night? Because obviously, if you ever been to a beach at night, it is black, pitch black. There's nothing to film, right? You can't see anything.
Right.
So he finally gave into some CGI in this film, and he gave into some unnatural lighting in this film. So this is him for the first time in like a major film, like moving outside of his comfort zone. There's even like a CGI bird in the beginning. I'm like, wow.
Oh, really, yeah.
So
they flew out,
That's very unusual for Robert Eggers. Very unusual.
With this story, Alexander Skarsgård as a child witnessed his king, his father, be slain by his brother. And that sounds like what?
Hamlet. That's the exact. So this movie is Hamlet. And our main character's name is like Amulet or something like that. And so I'm like, oh, they not even like try to really adapt this at all. It's like straight up Hamlet. And so for everybody who's like, oh, what's Hamlet? It's Lion King. Think of the story of Lion King. Lion King is Hamlet. So if you're like, do I know the story? Yes, you do.
Yes.
And this movie follows the exact beats damn near all the way down. And this is where things get weird. Damn near down to all the whole Hakuna Matata thing where he leaves and he's like, I'm living on my own. But instead of eating bugs and living happy, he's like murdering and pillaging and killing people, you know? This is his whole Hakuna Matata part.
I've missed you, my son. One day this kingdom will be yours.
Thank you, Father.
One day, Simba, the sun will set on my time here and will rise with you as the new king.
And this'll all be mine?
Everything.
I thought this was probably the first film where Robert Eggers did the thing I didn't think he was going to do. And this is where he put the cart in front of the horse a little bit. So he's really big on his visuals. Oh my God, he is absolutely obsessive on getting things to be like period accurate, using authentic tools, authentic clothes. Famously, Alexander Skarsgård had a single pair of boots to this film, one pair. Just if you don't know, there's usually hundreds of boots just in case he gets a scuff in the wrong spot, you know, for this take. So they got a patch here or something like that. This one he wore a single pair of boots and someone hand stitched it every time there was a mistake. So he really was truly obsessive. And I got to say, kind of like I would say about CGI, is no one cares if the movie's not that great. And so this movie is fine. It's good. He really leans back on Hamlet as his background here. But if you know Hamlet's story, this movie, it kind of feels like you're hitting beats. This is the first time where I'm like, I know exactly what's going to happen because I see this as Hamlet. And I'm like, damn. So it's the first time where I really was not as into the story as I thought I was. I liked the setting. The setting, pretty cool. The story, though, it's Hamlet. But Lion King, now you know every single beat of this film. You know every turn. You know most of the characters are going to show up.
Remember, for whom you shed your last teardrop.
Remember who you are.
But you took the words right out of my mouth, man. I wasn't as invested so much into this story, but more into the visuals in this film.
Yeah, the visuals are great. And the lighthouse, you were never really sure what is going on, right? You're like, is this what I'm seeing real or is it not? And the Robert Eggers wisely gives you the option to pick. You know, it's like whatever you think is true is true. He gives you a lot of evidence that this is all in their heads. They give you a lot of evidence that there's something mythological going on here, and they give you a lot of evidence that this movie is just happening straight up as you see it, right? Same with The Witch, where it's like, is there something weird going on here or not? This movie, straight up, it says this is mythological. Like there's some weird stuff going on here. All your Viking lore is real. But like halfway through, when
that witch basically told him what his destiny was going to be.
Even then, I'm like, is that a hallucination? Because she went away later. She like vanished. There's a scene where he's like hanging, and some crows peck at ravens peck at the rope, and he falls. And the ravens, are, of course, symbolic of his father. So ravens are also symbolic of Odin. So I'm like, so they're saying 100% the mythological stuff is real. Got it. Okay, so that's totally different from his other films.
Two other actors in this film that I feel that did a better job than Alexander Skarsgård did a good job, but the two other actors did an amazing job. One had the smallest role.
Oh yeah, he did.
William Dafoe. Okay,
but a very important role, especially when you think
so important.
Yeah,
he helped him find the sword. He helped him find his way as who he was and all that shit. And then Anya Taylor-Joy.
Yep, she's always a pleasure to see on screen. Always.
So it's like, boom. Nicole Kidman didn't need her in here.
What? Are you kidding me? Yo, I thought Nicole Kidman destroyed.
My most wrong opinion.
I thought she destroyed.
She was an evil. She was a cantankerous whore.
Your mother's a cantankerous whore! Jesus, man.
That's why I liked her. She was great, man. She had like that great turn.
Yeah, she was good. I just hated her character. Let's just say that.
That's the point. Like I was like, and then she had like an awesome speech where she looked absolutely psychotic while she was giving it. I was like, wow.
Bro, she kissed him. I was like,
you were talking about last week. What's it called? Getting an Oscar. I'm like, yo, if this came out later in the year, Nicole Kidman would get an Oscar for this. That's easily the best Nicole Kidman performance I have ever seen. I was like, wow. And I was kind of wondering, I was like, why do they cast Willem Dafoe in such a small role? But then, you know, I'm gonna spoil things. Sorry. So from here on out, we're gonna talk spoilers. It's really difficult to talk about things without spoilers. Willem Dafoe's got a small role, and he dies off screen, and he spends the rest of the film as like a prop, like a of his head, you know. But I'm like, why did they cast Willem Dafoe? But I'm like, oh, he's got the most distinctive face in Hollywood. So when you see his head as a prop, you're like, yeah, that's Willem Dafoe. You know, who else could that be? You know. So I'm like, got it. I see why. Oh, and what's interesting about Willem Dafoe's character is we're introduced to his character. He's the court jester, but then when later on they're like, oh, he's a wise soothsayer. I'm like, what? How is he? I thought he was a court jester. But then when you think back at what he said, his joke, right? He told you the twist in the film, because the big twist in the film is that Nicole Kidman, our main character, his mother.
Spoiler.
Yeah, okay, we're all on spoilers. She helped engineer the downfall and the death of his father, and
Ethan Hawke. Yeah,
Ethan Hawke. And Willem Dafoe's joke was, in the beginning, Ethan Hawke is coming home from war. And Nicole Kidman's like, oh, thank God, husband, king, I'm so glad you're here. But where's your brother? And at first I was like, I didn't think anything of it. And I'm like, okay, whatever. And he's like, don't think about my brother. He's back there somewhere. I don't know. You know? And then when his brother finally shows up, he's like, everyone raise your glass for my brother. And she's like, oh, drink from my glass, you know? And so you're like, oh, okay. But it's all these things you only get later on.
Mm-hmm. You gotta watch it again or something.
Yeah, or you just think about it later on. But then Willem Dafoe, he makes a joke. It's a very crude joke that I cannot make here. But he's like, oh, you know, she was more excited to see your brother than he was to see you. And people were about to kill him. You know, drawing swords and stuff. But he was like, no. He's just a jester. But I'm like, he really told the twist that she really is having an affair with his brother, you know? It's like, yeah. So that's something that didn't hit me until I got home. So I was like, oh, that's kind of cool.
The other actress I enjoyed in this film was Anya Taylor-Joy. She is the love interest, but also the partner of Alexander Skarsgård character. She is a slave. And
he puts himself into slavery.
Yeah, he puts himself into slavery because he knew that they were being sold to his treacherous uncle.
And it's kind of a shame that it was Anya Taylor-Joy, because I feel like she blew Alexander Skarsgård out the water. Like I feel like every scene that they were together in, like my eye was drawn to her and her performance. And you know, him, even though he's like buff and ripped and stuff, I'm like, okay, that's great. That's great for like 1 or 2 shots or for the trailer. But you got some more, and I feel like he got stomped on by Anya Taylor-Joy.
When he left the boat and she did that monologue in that language I understand, I was like, ooh, get in, queen. Yes, queen.
But you know what? That's a good point too. In that he's very stoic and mad. He's got like one goal in mind: kill my uncle, save my mother. You know, and he's not really given a lot of opportunities to be as like colorful, I guess, as Anya Taylor-Joy. So maybe I'm not being fair to him. You know, he's not really. Although he did lead the freaking movie, so maybe he should have.
He's the weakest Skarsgård.
Yeah. Damn.
Still.
Such a shame. Such a shame.
I'll pick a Baldwin brother over.
Damn.
Matter of fact, give me a Wayans.
Any
But
give me Marlon. Like
what?
It's really funny.
Nicole Kidman. She planned this thing from the beginning because she had the hots for Ethan Hawke's brother.
That's really the only original plot-wise part of the film. The rest of it is all Hamlet.
Which does it bear for people to think, who are you rooting for?
Yeah, and that's a really good question because we spend the bulk of the movie with Alexander Skarsgård, and Alexander Skarsgård is unapologetically horrific throughout the film. Not his acting, but I'm saying that the character is the character is terrible, right? One of the early scenes we see him as an adult. Right, we see him as a kid and he's running away. You know, his dad's dead. You know, think of Simba running off to the desert, and then he grows up and he's like pillaging this town, and it's absolutely brutal. And there are some nasty, terrible things that are happening in the background. Like they are picking through the survivors of the pillaging, and they're like, okay, you're strong, you go to slavery. You're weak, I'll slit your throat right here. You're old, please line up over here. You're a little kid, please line up over here. Okay, old people, little kids, go into this little hut. There you go. And they light that bitch on fire. And I'm like, yo. So it's very difficult to root for Alexander Skarsgård because he is just he's not a very nice guy at all. He's difficult to root for him. You know, he's not a good guy. And he's very openly a nightmare man.
Yeah, and they tried to change his character at the end too late when he had these kids.
Right. Yeah. So I'm like, should I care for him? Because I kind of want him to die. You know. So you know, I understood his quest maybe to save his mom, but once that went up in smoke, and with the final fight between the uncle and Alexander Skarsgård, it looked awesome. But you're right. You're like, who do I want to win this? Because our villain turns out he's probably the nicest or the most decent guy, although he clearly raped people too. So it's like, Jesus. But so he's the most decent guy, and Alexander Skarsgård is a monster man. So I'm like, damn, who do I want to win? And then the movie, which I didn't like at all, again, full spoilers, it kind of has a cop-out where they both die. And I'm like, oh, so you just didn't make a choice? They just both died? You know, so I was like, oh, no one likes a tie.
I am there with you, man. So let's go ahead and get into our rating. Beautiful looking film.
Breathtaking.
Beautiful
Probably one of the best looking films I've seen in a very, very long time. Maybe since The Lighthouse. It's an amazing looking film.
For right now, this don't top The Lighthouse, or it doesn't top The Green Knight for how beautiful this film looks to me.
Yeah, I forgot. The Green Knight was very pretty. But The Green Knight used so much CGI. This one was like a lot of it is in camera, and it's really quite the achievement technically.
Acting well done across the board. I give Alexander Skarsgård a little bit. You know,
that was a ringing endorsement from Tyrone.
Okay, but the top-notch actors in this was Nicole Kidman, Anya Taylor-Joy, and that small, brief William Dafoe. Anytime you can get a William Dafoe, it's going to be a great day. Yeah. So with that being said, I'm giving this film a 8.
An 8. I think an 8 is totally fair. I'm going to give this one a 7. I liked it. It was good. And if you really like a visual movie or technical achievement, this one is fantastic. But I do think he finally got the cart in front of the horse, where he spent too much time on the technical aspects of the film and not enough time on that story. So the story was fine. It's not a bad story.
The story was handed to him on a silver platter.
Exactly. It was written 1,000 years ago. You know what I'm saying? But the setting was cool. I liked the visuals.
Iceland.
I enjoyed the film, but I just wish we had a more original story and just more to carry me through other than the visuals.
So I gave this film a 8. Devin gave this film a 7. This film is in theaters now. Go ahead and support it. You know, we do recommend you going to see this film. And if you just want to see a muddy Alexander Skarsgård's body, go ahead. Okay, go ahead. That is his body.
Just making sure I heard you right. You know
body. That is our review for The Northman. Thank you for clicking on this video. We really appreciate you. You know how you can help when the people that's watching here? Hit that subscribe button and make sure you hit the like button if you liked our review. Or you can hit the thumbs down button. You can just be like, Vikings are great and pillaging is great. Whatever you do, it is your opinion. But just remember one thing, people, it's mostly wrong. See you guys in another video.